Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai. So we are at which verse? 21st we have done, no? 22 also done. Okay, 23. Satvam mukham sodati subhramanurag bhara vrida vilam vilasad dhastyaavalokam नीलाखिलाभिरुपस्कृतम् उन्नसम्मनाः स्वानां प्रदाश्रय मनस्वनि वाल्गुवाक्यम्.
My dear wife, my dear wife, your teeth are very beautifully set, and your attractive features make you appear very thoughtful. Kindly give up your anger, be merciful upon me, and please smile upon me with loving attachment. When I see a smile on your beautiful face, and when I see your hair, which is as beautiful as the color blue, and see your raised nose, and hear your sweet talk, you will become more beautiful to me, and thus attract me and oblige me. You are most respectful mistress.
Yeah, okay. So Vishwajit was saying, having given punishment, now give mercy. You are my mistress. You have languid, bright, smiling glances, showing attraction and shyness and sweet words. The devotee prays, this is certainly my previous intelligence. May she become favorable and steady. Okay. So we are praying, repenting. Okay. So last paragraph of this purport.
King Puranjan begged his queen to return to her original beauty. He tried to revive her just as a living entity tries to revive his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, which is very beautiful. All the beautiful features of the queen could be compared to beautiful features of Krishna consciousness. When one returns to his original Krishna consciousness, he actually becomes steady and his life becomes successful.
Okay. Let us try to compare. And Prabhupada is saying, all the beautiful features of the queen could be compared to the beautiful features of Krishna consciousness. Okay. Let's do that. Your teeth are very beautifully set. Yeah. And your attractive features make you appear very thoughtful. Kindly give up your anger and be merciful upon me. Please smile upon me with loving attachments. When I see a smile on your beautiful face, and when I see your hair, which is as beautiful as the color blue, and see you raise nose and hear your sweet talk, you will become more beautiful to me and thus attract me, oblige me. Can we compare? All the beauty features of the queen can be compared to the beautiful features of the Krishna consciousness. Yeah, someone can try. Pandani.
Attractive features compared to Krishna consciousness intelligence, which are very thoughtful. Krishna consciousness intelligence. Person who is Krishna conscious is very thoughtful.
Very thoughtful, okay.
These may be compared to only like devotion qualities, development of devotees.
Yes, attractive features can be devotional qualities, teeth. Okay. Speculation is only. Prabhupada has not done it. No other acharya has done it. But that means our the soul is very beautiful always. And whenever we are in Krishna consciousness, so we become attracted to Krishna also, we become attracted to other devotees also. You know. And mainly developing devotional qualities. Okay. The soul is always endowed with all the good qualities. So more we approach our true consciousness, more we become attracted. You know, at one place Prabhupada is saying, more one is free from sex desires, more one becomes attractive. Okay. Like, so more our consciousness is pure, so more we can become attracted to everyone. Got stuck. Got stuck. Okay, let's check it. 24th. तस्मिन् ददेदमहं तद्वीरपत्नी यो अन्यत्र भूशर्कुलात् कृत्क्लिबिष्टं पश्येनाविद्भयम् अनुमोदितं त्रिलोक्यम् अन्यत्र वैपुर्विपुर् एतत्र दशात्.
O hero's wife, kindly tell me if someone has offended you. I am prepared to give such a person punishments as long as he does not belong to the Brahmana caste. But for the servant of Muraripu, Krishna, I excuse no one within or beyond these three worlds. No one can freely move after offending you, for I am prepared to punish him.
Yeah. Okay. Purport, please.
According to Vedic civilization, a Brahmana, or one who is properly qualified to understand the absolute truth, that is, one belonging to the most intelligent social order, as well as the devotee of Lord Krishna, who is known as Muradusha, enemy of a demon Mura, is not subjected to rules and regulation of the state. In other words, upon breaking the law of the state, everyone can be punished by the government except the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas never transgress the laws of state or laws of nature because they know perfectly well the resultant reactions caused by such law breaking. Even though they may sometime appear to violate the laws, they are not to be punished by the king. This instruction was given to King Prachini Bharishat by Narad Muni. King Puranjan was a representative of King Prachini Bharishat, and Narad Muni was reminding King Prachini Bharishat of his forefather Maharaj Pithu, who never chastised a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. One's pure intelligence or pure Krishna consciousness becomes polluted by material activities. Pure consciousness can be revived by process of sacrifice, charity, pious activities, etc. But when one pollutes his Krishna consciousness by offending a Brahmana and Vaishnava, it is very difficult to revive. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described Vaishnava Prad as offense to a Vaishnava as a mad elephant offense. One should be very careful not to offend a Vaishnava or a Brahmana. Even great Yogi Durvasha was harassed by Sudarshan Chakra when he offended the Vaishnava. Maharaj Ambrish, who was neither a Brahmana nor a sannyasi but an ordinary householder. Maharaj Ambrish was a Vaishnava and consequently Durvasa Muni was chastised. The conclusion is that if Krishna consciousness is covered by material sins, one can eliminate the sin simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. But if one pollutes his Krishna consciousness by offending a Brahmana or Vaishnava, one cannot revive it until one properly atones for the sin by pleasing the offending Vaishnava or Brahmana. This was a course that Durvasha Muni had to follow, for he surrendered unto Maharaj Ambrish. A Vaishnava aparadh cannot be atoned by any means other than by begging the pardon of offended Vaishnava.
Yeah, what is the difference between sin and an offense? Sin may affect our gross body or subtle body, but the offense covers our service propensity of the soul. So it's very dangerous. Vaktram nate vitilakam malimanam viharsam samram bhimam avristam apetaragam pasyestanavapi shuchapahato sujato bimbadharam vigat kumkum pankaragam.
My dear wife, until this day I have never seen your face without tilaka decoration, nor have I seen you so morose and without luster or affection, nor have I seen your two nice breasts wet with tears from your eyes, nor have I ever before seen your lips, which are ordinarily as red as the bimba fruit, without their reddish hue.
Okay. Purport.
Every woman looks very beautiful when decorated with tilaka and vermilion. A woman generally becomes very attractive when her hips are colored with reddish saffron or vermilion. But when one's consciousness and intelligence are without any brilliant thoughts about Krishna, they become morose and lusterless, as much so that one cannot derive any benefit despite sharp intelligence.
Okay. So, however, materially one may be very sharp, very intelligent. If Krishna is not there, so that person is always morose. In Prem Bhakti Chandrika it is said, Manir Krishna's Smaran Manir Pran. The life of mind is remembrance of Krishna. So as long as we have Krishna in our mind, we are alive. Mind is alive. So when the Krishna leaves the mind, it becomes dead. That means what? The dead things becomes the food for all those vultures. So the vultures like lust will come. Okay. So as long as Krishna is Suresam, Maya Andhakar. As long as we have Krishna in our mind and intelligence, we are away from lust. As soon as Krishna leaves our mind intelligence, the lust will attack us. Okay. We become dead. That way. Tanme prasid suhed klishya visya svairam gatasya mrigayam vyasnanu tasrasya kadevaram vashgatam kusumastra vega visrasya pamsana mushatina bhajet kritye.
My dear queen, due to my sinful desires, I went to the forest to hunt without asking you. Therefore, I must admit that I have offended you. Nonetheless, thinking of me as your most intimate subordinate, you should still be very much pleased with me. Factually, I am very much bereaved, but being pierced by the arrow of Cupid, I am feeling lusty. But where is the beautiful woman who would give up her lusty husband and refuse to unite with him?
Okay. Yeah. So can you read the purport, commentary of which one? It's not visible.
Be kind to me, your friend, suffering from attachment, who committed sin by going to hunt on my own. For amorous activities, what woman would not embrace her husband under her control, whose independence has been shattered by the agitation of Cupid and arrow?
He prays for the mercy of his wife. Devaram, beloved husband, means he who bestows amusement. His independence as a man has been shattered by the agitation of Cupid's arrow. Who would not accept such a husband for affectionate activities of love? This verse describes directly meeting with the dharmic intelligence. Be pleased and reside in my heart. I am uncontrollable, having committed sin by going hunting and killing. Hunting and committing sin are equivalent in meaning according to the dictionary. Good intelligence should be situated with him. He expresses this principle by a particular question. Just as a woman does not give up her lover who has done wrong, so intelligence should not give me up. O good intelligence, do not give me up.
Okay. Yeah. Purport, Prabhupada.
Both man and woman desire one another. That is the basic principle of material existence. Women in general always keep themselves beautiful so that they can be attractive to their lusty husbands. When a lusty husband comes before his wife, the wife takes advantage of his aggressive activities and enjoys life. Generally, when a woman is attacked by a man, whether a husband or some other man, she enjoys the attack, being too lusty. In other words, when one's intelligence is properly utilized, both the intellect and the intelligent person enjoy one another with great satisfaction. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yan Maithunadi Grihamedi Sukham Mitucham Kandunayena Karayor Eva Dukkha Dukkham. The actual happiness of the karmis is sex life. They work very hard outside the home, and to satiate their hard labor, they come home to enjoy sex life. King Puranjan went to the forest to hunt, and after his hard labor, he returned home to enjoy sex life. If a man lives outside the home and spends a week in a city or somewhere else, at the end of the week he becomes very anxious to return home and enjoy sex with his wife. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yan Maithunadi Grihameti Sukham Mitucham. Karmis work very hard simply to enjoy sex. Modern human society has improved the materialistic way of life simply by inducing unrestricted sex life in many different ways. This is most prominently visible in the Western world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 4th canto, 26th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Puranjana goes to the forest to hunt and is giving
Okay.
the
So he's requesting that please come back to me. Okay. So that's why it's right. Go to next chapter. Attack by the Chanduvega on the city of Puranjan, the character of Kalkarnya. Now more analogies now. Now the Puranjan is becoming old. Naraduvacha itham Puranjanam sadhyag Vashwamanya Vibramai Puranjani Maharaja Reme Ramyati Patim.
The great sage Narad continued, My dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, the wife of King Puranjan gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed sex life with him.
Yeah. So Vishwajit was saying that 27th chapter describes how Puranjan, endowed with proper intelligence, performed pious acts but became afflicted by old age and disease, which is described through another story. Read please further.
The dharmic jiva, encountering some obstacle, become contaminated internally by various sins. He then regain his intelligence and perform charity, vows, and atonements. However, because the contamination does not leave his mind, he becomes torn apart by constant regret. By good fortune, he attains his proper intelligence. This has been described. This chapter describes his household life with proper conduct and intelligent rules by Dharma as previously. He was controlled completely by her affectionate action. Giving up the inclination for sinful life, the jiva becomes attached to dharmic intelligence as before.
Yeah. So now we follow the religious path. Okay. So Prabhupada has given a great purport. Please read the purport.
After hunting in the forest, King Puranjana returned home. saw her laying down on the ground without a bed, as if neglected and devoid of any proper dress. He became very much aggrieved. He then became attracted to her and began to enjoy her company. A living entity similarly engaged in the material world in sinful activities. These sinful activities may be compared to King Puranjana's hunting in the forest. A sinful life can be counteracted by various processes of religion such as yajna, vrata and dana. That is, the performance of sacrifice, the taking of a vow for some religious ritual, and the giving of charity. In this way, one may become free from the reaction of sinful life and at the same time awaken his original Krishna consciousness. By becoming home, by coming home, taking his bath, eating nice foodstuff, getting refreshed, and searching out his wife, King Puranjan came to his good consciousness in his family life. In other words, a systematic family life as enjoined in the Vedas is better than an irresponsible sinful life. If a husband and a wife combine together in Krishna consciousness and live together peacefully, that is very nice. However, if a husband becomes too much attracted by his wife and forgets his duty in life, the implications of materialistic life will again resume. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore recommended anasaktasya vishayan. Without being attached by sex, the husband and wife may live together for the advancement of spiritual life. The husband should engage in devotional service and the wife should be faithful and religious according to the Vedic.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is describing all these things. Okay. The conclusion is that
The conclusion is that a household life is better than a sinful life devoid of responsibility. But if in the household life the husband becomes subordinate to the wife, involvement in materialistic life again becomes prominent. In this way, a man's material bondage becomes enhanced. Because of this, according to the Vedic system, after a certain age, a man is recommended to abandon his family life for the stage of vanaprastha and sannyas.
actually this pravati marg is very dangerous. Even if one is following a religious family life, one will again attracted to sinful activities. It's very dangerous. So, and if he gets too much attached, then it's difficult for him to take sannyas and vanprastha. Sarajya Mahisimrajan Susnatam Ruchiraranam Krit Swastyayanam Triptam Abhyanandad Ubagatam.
The queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion. A woman is generally accustomed to dress herself nicely with fine garments and decorative ornaments. She may even sometimes wear flowers in her hair. Women specially dress themselves up in the evening because the husband comes home in the evening after working hard all day.
So, these days they don't apply. The wife also comes back. So, it doesn't apply. So, otherwise, Prabhupada is still giving the social and cultural aspect. Okay. But the spiritual meaning is, like Vishnu is seeing the happiness of his dharmic intelligence and freed from the contamination in his mind, he felt himself successful. Okay. So, earlier the intelligence was not coming back, now the dharmic intelligence has come back. Okay. Tayopaguna parirabdha kandharo raho numadraera prakrishta chetna na kala raho bubude duratyayam diva nisheti pramada parigraha.
Translation. Queen Puranjani embraced the king. Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus, King Puranjan became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit.
Commentary by Vishwanath Thakur.
Embarrassed by the queen, held by the neck, attracted in his mind by her private jokes, captivated by the woman's, he was not aware of the power of insurmountable time, of the passing of the days and night. He was attracted by her private pleasing words, ani mantrah, ani mantrahe. He lost his intelligence for crossing samsara because of mantras concerning dharma and karma. He was not aware of the force of time because he had no detachment. He was not aware that day had passed and night had arrived.
Okay. So just see the sequence 25th, 26th, 27th chapter. What was the main theme of 25th chapter? First chapter we discussed. Yeah. Yeah. So Narad Muni started telling this story how a living entity is looking for a suitable residence to enjoy, how he meets a beautiful woman called, that is the intelligence, how he gets captivated. Okay, that is 25th chapter. The 26th chapter is, even though marrying a dharmic intelligence is not satisfied, then he performs sinful activity. And when performing sinful activity, he becomes morose, repents, again comes back, begs forgiveness, pacifies his dharmic intelligence. Then the dharmic intelligence comes back in 27th chapter. Now again he spends time with her. And now because he spends time in the dharma and all these rituals, he wastes his time. He loses the intelligence, which is really meant for crossing over the sansar. Okay. So now in this chapter it will show how the old age attacks him. And at the end of the old age, next chapter, that because he is too much attached to his wife, in the next life he becomes a woman. Okay, that is the whole thing. So how by becoming attached to pravarti marg or too much sense gratification, we lose the purpose of life. Right. So purport, please.
The word pramad in this verse is pramada in this verse is very significant. A beautiful wife is certainly enlivening to her husband, but at the same time is the cause of degradation. The word pramada means enlivening as well as maddening. Generally, a householder does not take the passing of days and nights very seriously. A person in ignorance takes it as usual course that days come and after the days night comes. This is the law of material nature.
We brahmacharis take seriously or not? We are supposed to take seriously. In today's lecture, Prabhupada was saying, who are the Goswamis who are serious in Krishna consciousness, they take time very seriously. Okay, so we should also take time very seriously. There's a verse in, I think, Vishnu Puran. What is that? Sa hani cha mahahani, sa moham cha vibhrama, yat muratam kshanam api vasudevana chintayet. What is the biggest loss in this creation? What is the biggest illusion? That in one murat, for one kshan, I have forgotten Krishna. That is the biggest loss in the creation. So, as a full-time devotees, we should be very, very careful not to waste time. So sometimes, because we have all the time, so we lose the value of time. And sometimes, see, the householders, they have more value for the time. They do deity worship also, they do preaching also, they go and earn money also, they maintain family also, they do services in temple also. And how do they manage? We don't know. And they chant their rounds also. It's very difficult to, how do they manage? And the brahmacharis, because we have all the time, all the facilities, we take it for granted. And when a brahmachari is sleeping, no one can wake him up. It is the biggest offense. Prabhuji can't vishram kar, theek hai, koi nahi utha sakta. But the householders, they never get this facility to sleep in the daytime. They can never think of. Even the Kartik month, we see that some householders, they take the vow to attend Mangal Aarti. And they attend Mangal Aarti, from there they go to office, whole day they work, the next day again they come for Mangal Aarti, whole month they continue. And how they are continuing, they are very happy. Prabhuji, ho gaya, Radharani ki kripa se, kaise ho gaya, no? And we stay in temple, we take it very casually, no problem. No? So this is a danger of brahmachari life. We take for facilities, we take time for granted. So it's a occupational hazard, you can say. So when we are not joined, then we used to really crave. When the time will come, I will join. I'll attend Mangal Aarti, I'll attend morning program, Bhagavatam class, wow, wonderful. I'll utilize my time. But when we come inside, it's okay, it's very casual. Isn't it? What do you say? So generally householders, but I'll say generally brahmacharis. So we don't care for time. Okay. So it is said for a brahmachari, it is the biggest danger is free time. Because the householder is too much occupied. He has a job, family, spiritual activities, responsibilities, so many things to do. He is fully occupied. But a brahmachari has no other occupation. And if he has free time, it's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Free time plus smartphone. सोने पे क्या बोले वो ना? Deadly combination. It's just like that monkey who was, उसको दारू पिला दिया और दारू पिलाने के उसको बिच्छू ने काट लिया, तो जो monkey वैसी हालत है ना. If a brahmachari has a smartphone and free time, very dangerous. Okay, so we should try to have always keep ourselves busy in services. Shravanam, Kirtanam, busy in services, something, or else we should always keep on doing. We should try to find a notch for us, a kind of a service for us where we can keep our mind absorbed. Because if the mind is not absorbed, mind will keep on cheating us. Okay, so that way it's very, because what is time? What is life? Life means time. If you're wasting time, you're wasting life. Life is what? Limited time. Life is limited time only, no? 70, 80 years, that's all. It's limited time. So if you have wasted time, we have wasted life. This life is gone, wasted. So we have very limited time. And the time passes very fast. So somehow or other we should always keep ourselves busy in Krishna conscious activities. Otherwise it's very different. Right? Because, and then if you're not utilize our time properly in the young age, so the time will really harass us in the old age. Because it's very frightening. Old age is very frightening. But if in the young age we have developed interest in Shravanam, Kirtanam, so that will help us in old age. Because in old age, our body, gross body won't work. Subtle body always remains young. Okay. So when the physical body is not working, so we can, with the subtle body, we can remember Krishna, we can chant, try to chant more, that will help us. But if in the young age we have wasted time in smartphone, other sites, other activities, and in the old age, the body will not cooperate, we're not used to hearing and chanting, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Okay. So we should take it very seriously. All the opportunities we have, facilities we have, we should use our time very, very nicely. Especially the Kartik month time. So we should be very, very vigilant and very alert not to waste even one moment. Okay. So it's very wonderful opportunity. Like in Kartik month we are discussing Bhakti Vaibhav, discussing Bhagavatam. It's a good opportunity. At least 4-5 hours are gone in the Bhagavatam discussions, right? So generally a householder does not take passing of days and night very seriously. And when we grow old, after 40, how many of you are after cross 40? Yeah. And after 40, time will really race. It passes very fast. Immediately we will reach 50. Immediately we will reach 60. अरे इतना हो गया, इतनी जल्दी निकल रहा है. I am 60. Thak, अरे 60 पहुंच गया. You don't even realize you are 60, 50. It goes very fast. And when we are young, अरे यार कब time आएगा? कॉलेज से पास आउट होंगे, हो ही नहीं रहा, हो ही नहीं रहा. Then we are waiting for when I become adult, I can do all things on my own, you know. Then it looks a very big time. But after we cross 40, it goes very fast. Okay. So we should take time very seriously, right? Generally, householder does not take passing of days and night very seriously. A person in ignorance take it as a usual course that days come, after the days the nights come. This is the law of material nature. But a man in ignorance does not know when the sun rises early in the morning, it begins to take away the balance of his life. What is that shlok? Ayu harti ve punsam, odiya naschan chanasya, tasya rita yakshana nita, uttam shloka. This is very good, you know. Even while yawning, he's chanting shloka. It's not the other way. Okay. While chanting, he's yawning. No, no, no. While yawning, he's chanting. Perfect state. So, Ayu harti vai punsan udyan achan jinaso tasrita kshananita uttam shloka vartaya. The sun will take away the time except for those who utilize this time in hearing chanting. Right? Okay. Thus, day after day, the span of one's life is reduced, and forgetting the duty of human life, the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife and enjoys her in a secluded place. Who is the wife of Brahmachari? Mind. Brahmachari has 6 wives. Mind and 5 senses. Okay. So if we not taking shelter of Krishna, then we have to feed 6 wives, take care of 6 wives. Very difficult. Okay. Such a condition is called aprakasht chetna or degraded consciousness. Human consciousness should be used for elevation to Krishna consciousness. But when a person is too much attracted to his wife and family affairs, he does not take Krishna consciousness very seriously. He thus becomes degraded. Not knowing that he cannot buy back even a second of his life in return of millions of dollars. His Guru Maharaj used to always quote this, Chanakya Pandit says. In many of the lectures he used to quote that. And Guru Maharaj is always very conscious. We know his life. Never wasted even a moment. Okay, very, very conscious. As the age is increasing, our consciousness should also be increasing, elevating. Graph साथ साथ चलना चाहिए. It's not that the graph of age is increasing and our consciousness graph is going down. That is very dangerous. Because when the age is increasing, we are more dependent on the subtle body. The consciousness, absorption in Krishna should keep on increasing day by day. Day by day, we should feel more Krishna conscious. That's what his life is. Life is spending it, कम होता जा रहा है, खटता जा रहा है लाइफ. हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा? लेकिन हमें रियलाइज ही नहीं होता. एक दिन चला गया, 2 दिन चला गया, नो प्रॉब्लम, नो प्रॉब्लम. 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year, न्यू ईयर, कितने न्यू ईयर्स निकल गए. So as the years are passing by, age is increasing, our consciousness should get more and more elevated. So the only way is to always keep ourselves engaged in Krishna conscious activities. Be mindful of committing offenses, be mindful of committing sins, always following 4 regulative principles. We should be mindful. We don't know sometimes the actions we are performing, we don't know its reaction, how it is going to affect us afterwards. Sometimes we don't know. The mind really cheats us. Right? Okay. So the greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Every moment of our life should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service, like we said, to the Lord. Without devotional service to the Lord, the activities of life become simply waste of time. Shrama eva hi kemalam. Simply by becoming beautiful, we do not make any profit in the life. Now, Prashin Parishad was, Puranjan is being beautiful. He is following Pravarti Marg as per the Vedic rules. No, it's dutiful, it's not sufficient. As confirmed in Bhagavatam, Dharma Sranishta Punsa Vishwaksin Katha Susha, Natvadi Yadiratim, Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. If after performing one's occupational duty very perfectly, one does not make progress in Krishna consciousness, it should be understood that he has simply wasted his time in valueless labor. Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. 3 words, almost having the same meaning. Eva Hi Kevalam. Eva also means certainly, he means only, Kevalam means also only. Shram eva hi Kevalam. Very powerful three words. Okay. Similarly, we may be performing devotional service, but we should be very mindful of our consciousness. If we are performing our devotional service, it should lead to attraction for hearing and chant. If it is not leading to hearing and chanting, then something wrong. Okay. शयान उन्नद मदो महामना महार्थ तल्पे महेसी भुजोपधि तामेव वीरे मनुते परम यतस्तमो विभूते न निजं परम चयत.
Way, increasingly overwhelmed by illusion, King Puranjana, although advanced in consciousness, remained always lying down with his head on the pillow of his wife's arms. In this way, he considered woman to be his ultimate life and soul. Becoming thus overwhelmed by the mode of ignorance, he could not understand the meaning of self realization of his self or of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay. So, read the commentary. He made a pillow.
He made a pillow his wife's arms. In another version, Bhujopadi becomes a modifier of Shayanaha. Because of sex life, he thought she was the ultimate. He thought that the association with his wife was the goal of life. Another version has Amunuta instead of Manute. He did not consider himself or anyone else because he was defeated by ignorance.
Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry. Yeah.
The spiritual meaning is that because of association with Dharma, represented by his wife, he became attached to Dharma, and that became his goal of life rather than liberation. Because he did not know himself as Jiva and did not know the Lord, he became engrossed in Dharma, Unnadamadaha, and thought of performing charities, Mahamanaha. He slept on the valuable bed. He was engrossed in pious acts. He made a pillow, Upadhi, of his wife's arms. He was covered, Upadhi, by ignorance.
Yeah. So he was covered by Upadhi. He thought himself as a body. Okay. Body is also an Upadhi. And then he made his wife's arm also as a mano Upadhi, that is pillow. So he was covered by Upadhi. That's why he wasted his time. He thought associating with wife, satisfying my wife is the goal of my life, not the liberation. Okay. Purport for paths.
Human life is meant for self-realization. First of all, one has to realize his own self, which is described in this verse as Nijam. Then he has to understand or realize the super soul or Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, when one becomes too much materially attached, he takes a woman to be everything. This is the basic principle of material attachment. In such a condition, one cannot realize his own self or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2, it is therefore said, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktis Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. If one associates with Mahatmas or devotees, his path of liberation is open. But if one becomes too much attached to women or to persons who are also attached to women, that is, attached to women directly or indirectly, he opens the Tamodvaram, the door to the darkest region of hellish life. King Puranjana was a great soul, highly intellectual, and possessed of advanced consciousness, but due to his being too much addicted to women, his whole consciousness was covered. In the modern age, the consciousness of people is too much covered by wine, women, and flesh. Consequently, people are completely unable to make any progress in self-realization. The first step of self-realization is to know oneself as spirit soul apart from the body. In the second stage of self-realization, one comes to know that every soul, every individual living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.7. Mamaivam jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastan indiyani prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditioned life, They are struggling very hard with six senses, which include the mind. All living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, in this present civilization, both men and women are allowed to be attracted to one another from the very beginning of life, and because of this, they are completely unable to come to the platform of self realization. They do not know that without self realization, they suffer the greatest loss in the human form of life. Thinking of a woman always within one's heart is tantamount to lying down with a woman on a valuable bedstead. The heart is bedstead, and it is the most valuable bedstead. When a man thinks of woman and money, he lies down and rests on the arms of his beloved woman or wife. In this way, he overindulges in sex life and thus become unfit for self-realization.
Very strong line. Prabhupada is writing, if you're thinking of woman, that means lying down with woman. Because our heart is the bedstead. So if you're thinking of woman in the heart, we are lying down with her, you know. So as a practicing brahmachari, we should be very careful not to have thoughts of women. Okay. We have old sanskars and whole societies like this. So we should be very, very careful. The thoughts will come, but we should not contemplate on those thoughts, because you start thinking of woman, it's as good as lying with woman. Very powerful, frightening. तयेवं रममाणस्य काम कश्मल चेतसा क्षणार्धमेव राजेंद्र व्यतिक्रांतं नवम वयः.
My dear King Prachin Barishat, in this way King Puranjan, with his heart full of lust and sinful reactions, began to enjoy sex with his wife, and in this way his new life and youth expired in a half moment.
Half moment, not in a moment. Okay, yeah, right, read.
Srila Govindas Thakur has sung, E dhana yauvana putra parijana, ithe ke ache parati tire, kamala dala jala jivana talamala, bhajahu haripadani tire. In this verse, Srila Govindas says that actually there is no bliss in the enjoyment of youthful life. In youth, a person becomes very lusty to enjoy all kinds of sense objects. The sense objects are form, taste, smell, touch, and sound. The modern scientific method or advancement of scientific civilization encourage the enjoyment of these five senses. The younger generation is very pleased to see a beautiful form, to hear radio messages of material news and sense gratificatory songs, to smell nice scents, nice flowers, and to touch the soft body of a breast of a young woman, and gradually touch the sex organs. All of this is also very pleasing to the animals. Therefore, in human society, there are restrictions in the enjoyment of five sense objects. If one does not follow, he becomes exactly like an animal. Thus, in this verse, it is specifically stated, Kamakshamal Chetasaha. The consciousness of King Puranjan was polluted by lusty desires and sinful activities. In the previous verse, it is stated that Puranjan, although advanced in consciousness, lay down on a very soft bed with his wife. This indicates that he indulges too much in sex. The word Navam Vayaha are also significant in this verse. They indicate the period of youth from age 16 to 30. These 13 or 15 years of life are years in which one can very strongly enjoy the senses. When one comes to this age, he thinks that life will go on and that he will simply continue enjoying his senses. But time and tide wait for no man. The span of youth expires very quickly. One who wastes his life simply by committing sinful activities in youth immediately becomes disappointed and disillusioned when the brief period of youth is over. The material enjoyment of youth are especially pleasing to a person who has no spiritual training. If one is trained only according to the bodily conception of life, he simply leads a disappointed life because bodily sense enjoyment finishes within 40 years or so. After 40 years, one simply leads a disillusioned life because he has no spiritual knowledge. For such a person, the expiration of youth occurs in half a moment. Thus, King Puranjan pleasure, which he took in lying down with his wife, expires very quickly. Kamakshmal Chetasaha also indicates that unrestricted sense enjoyment is not allowed in the human form of life by the laws of nature. If one enjoys his senses unrestrictedly, he leads a sinful life. The animals do not violate the laws of nature. For example, the sex impulses in animal is very strong during certain months of the year. The lion is very powerful. He is a flesh eater and is very strong, but he enjoys sex only once in a year. Similarly, according to religious injunction, a man is restricted to enjoy sex only once in a month after the menstrual period of the wife. And if the wife is pregnant, he is not allowed sex life at all. That is the law for human beings. A man is allowed to keep more than one wife because he can enjoy sex when the wife is pregnant. If he wants to enjoy sex at such a time, he may go to another wife who is not pregnant. These are laws mentioned in the Manu Samhita and other scriptures. These laws and the scriptures are meant for human beings. As such, if one violates these laws, he becomes sinful. The conclusion is that unrestricted sense enjoyment means sinful activities. Illicit sex is sex that violates the laws given in the scriptures. When one violates the laws of the scriptures or the Vedas, he commits sinful activities. One who is engaged in sinful activities cannot change his consciousness. Our real function is to change our consciousness from Shamala sinful consciousness to Krishna, the Supreme Pure. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Krishna is the Supreme Pure, and if we change our consciousness from material enjoyment to Krishna, we become purified. This is the process recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the process of Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, cleansing the mirror of the heart.
Yeah. Okay. So how Puranjan forgets time while he's enjoying and his youth goes away. Now his family life is described. What he did in his family life. Tasyam agyat putran putra puranjanya puranjana shatani ekadasha virad ayusho ardham adhyagat.
The great sage Narada then addressed King Prachin Barishad, O one whose lifespan is great, Virat. In this way, King Puranjan begat 1,100 sons within the womb of his wife, Puranjani. However, in this business, he passed away half of his lifespan. Purport?
Okay. Read.
In this verse, there are several significant words, the first of which are Ekadasha Shatani. Puranjan had begotten 1,100 sons within the womb of his wife, and thus passed away half of his life. Actually, every man follows a similar process. If one lives for 100 years at the utmost, in his life he will simply beget children up to the age of 50. Unfortunately, at the present moment, people do not live even 100 years. Nonetheless, they beget children up to the age of 60. Another point is that formerly people used to beget 100 to 200 sons and daughters, as will be evident from the next verse. King Puranjan not only begot 1,100 sons but also 110 daughters. At the present moment, no one can produce such huge quantities of children. Instead, mankind is very busy checking the increase of population by contraceptive methods. We do not find any Vedic literatures that they ever use contraceptive methods, although they were begetting hundreds of children. Checking population by contraceptive method is another sinful activity. But in this age of Kali, people have become so sinful that they do not care for resultant reactions of their sinful lives. King Puranjan lay down with his wife Puranjani and begot a large number of children, and there is no mention in these verses that he used contraceptive methods. According to the Vedic scriptures, the contraceptive method should be restricted in a sex life, restrained in sex life. It is not that one should indulge in unrestricted sex life and avoid children by using some method to check pregnancy. If a man is in a good consciousness, he consults with his religious wife, and as a result of his consultation with the intelligence, one advances in his ability to estimate the value of life. In other words, if one is fortunate enough to have a good, conscientious wife, he can decide by mutual consultation that human life is meant for advancing in Krishna consciousness and not for begetting large number of children. Children are called parinam or byproducts, and when one consults with his good intelligence, he can see that his byproduct should be the expansion of his Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Thank you. Next translation.
Text 7. Translation. O Prajapati, King Prachin Parishad, in this way, King Puranjan also begetted 110 daughters. All of these were equally glorified like the father and mother. Their behavior was gentle and they possessed magnanimity and other good qualities.
Children begotten under the rules and regulations of the scriptures generally becomes as good as the father and mother. But the children born legitimately mainly become Varna Sankara. The Varna Sankara population is irresponsible to the family, community, and even to themselves. Formerly, the Varna Sankara population was checked by the observation of the reformatory method called Garbhadhana Samskara. The child begetting religious ceremony. In these words, we find that although King Puranjana had begotten so many children, they were not Varna Sankara. All of them were good, well-behaved children, and they had good qualities like their father and mother. Even though we may produce many good children, our desire for sex that is beyond the prescribed method is to be considered sinful. Too much enjoyment of any of the senses, not only sex, results in sinful activities. Therefore, one has to become a Swami or Goswami at the end of his life. One may beget children up to the age of 50, but after 50, one must stop begetting children and should accept the Vanaprastha ashram order. In this way, he must leave home and then become sannyasi. A sannyasi's title is Swami or Goswami, which means that he completely refrains from sense enjoyment. One should not accept the sannyasa order whimsically. One must be fully confident that he can restrain his desires for sense gratification. King Puranjana's family life was, of course, very happy. As mentioned in these verses, he begot 1,100 sons and 110 daughters. Everyone desires to have more sons than daughters. And since number of daughters was less than number of sons, it appears that the King Puranjana's family life was very comfortable and pleasing.
Yeah. So, in the Vedas, this karmakand process is given, but it's for elevation. So the problem was Puranjan was he got stuck there. He forgot the real purpose. Okay. So he got stuck there, and he wasted his time. Otherwise, karmakanda section is for developing gradual renunciation. That's all. Right? Sapanchalapati putran pitravansha vivardhanan darai sanyojayamasa durhita sadrishai varai.
After this, King Puranjana, king of the Panchala country, in order to increase the descendant of his paternal family, married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughters with qualified husbands.
So I say everyone should marry and they offer Pinddan to their parents. This paragraph, not only with Puranjana.
Not only was Puranjana, the king of Panchala, satisfied in his own sex life, but he arranged for the sex life of his 1,100 sons and 110 daughters. In this way, one can elevate an aristocratic family to the platform of dynasty. It is significant in this verse that Puranjana got both sons and daughters married. It is the duty of father and mother to arrange for the marriage of their sons and daughters. That is obligation in the Vedic society. Sons and daughters should not be allowed freedom to intermingle with the opposite sex unless they are married. This Vedic social organization is very good in that it stops the promulgation of the illicit sex life or Varna Sankara, which appears under different names in the present day. Unfortunately, in this age, although the father and mother are anxious to get their children married, the children refuse to get married by the arrangement of the parents. Consequently, the number of Varna Sankara has increased throughout the world under different names.
Written when, this purport must have been written in 70s, after 50 years. And now you can see, no one wants to get married. Girls don't want to get married. So, Prabhupada was genius. It's 50 years back he was writing. I mean, it was in the Western countries, now it's coming in India also. Putranam cha bhavan putra ekekasya shatam shatam yervai puranjano vansha panchaleshu samedita.
Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by these sons and grandsons of King Puranjana. We must remember that Puranjana is the living entity and the city Panchala is the body. The body is the field of activity for the living entity, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetra Jana. There are two constituents. One is the living entity, Kshetra Jana, Kshetragya, and the other is the body of the living entity, Kshetra. Any living entity can know that he is covered by the body if he only contemplates the body of a little bit. Just with a little contemplation, he can come to understand that the body is his position. One can understand this by practical experience and by the authority of the Shastras. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.13, it is said, Dehino asmin yatha dehe. The proprietor of the body, the soul, is within the body. The body is taken as the Panchadesha, or the field of activities, wherein the living entity can enjoy the senses in their relationships with the five sense objects, namely Gandha, Rasa, Roop, Sparsh and Shabd. That is sense objects. That is sense objects made out of earth, water, fire, air and sky. Within this material world covered by the material body of subtle and gross matter, every living entity creates actions and reactions which are herein known allegorically as sons and grandsons. There are two kinds of actions and reactions, namely pious and impious. In this way, our existence, material existence, becomes coasted by different actions and reactions. In this regard, Srila Narottama Das Thakur states, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Keval Vishera Bhanda, Amrita Bailya Yebakhaya, Nana Yona Yoni Sada Fire, Kadarya Bhakshana Kare, Tara Janma Adhapatha Yaye. Fruitative activities and mental speculation are simply cups of poisons. Whoever drinks of them, thinking them to be nectar, must struggle very hard, life after life, in different types of bodies. Such a person eats all kinds of nonsense and becomes condemned by his activities of so-called sense enjoyment. Thus, the field of action and reactions by which one's descendants are increased begins with sex life. Puranjana increased his whole family life by begetting sons who in their turn begot grandsons. Thus, the living entity becomes being inclined towards sexual gratification, becomes involved in many hundreds and thousands of actions and reactions. In this way, he remains within the material world simply for the purpose of sense gratification and transmigrates from one body to another. His process of reproducing so many sons and grandsons results in so-called societies, nations, communities, and so on. All these communities, societies, dynasties, and nations simply expand from sex life. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Yan Maithun Nadi Gramadi Sukham Hi Tushaham. A Gramadi is one who wants to remain within this material existence. This means that he wants to remain within this body of society and enjoy friendship, love, and community. His whole enjoyment is in increasing the number of sex enjoyers. He enjoys sex and produces children, who in their turn marry and produce grandchildren. The grandchildren also marry and in their turn produce great grandchildren. In this way, the entire earth becomes overpopulated, and then suddenly there are reactions provoked by material nature in the form of war, famine, pestilence, and earthquakes, etc. Thus, the entire population is again extinguished simply to be recreated. This process is explained in Bhagavad Gita as repeated creation and annihilation. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Due to a lack of Krishna consciousness, all this creation and annihilation is going on under the name of human civilization. This cycle continues due to man's lack of knowledge of the soul and the supreme personality of Godhead.
So all these children and grandchildren, they are compared to the plunderers. Okay, and this is how the acharyas go down to the root. Once a big businessman came to Srila Prabhupada and he was introducing, this is my son, this is daughter-in-law, this is daughter, this is son-in-law, this. Big family. After he went to Prabhupada says, that is my sex life. Nothing else, only sex life. So once Prabhupada came to Paris, and once a reporter asked Prabhupada, so Swamiji, please tell us about your life before taking sannyas. So, what was your family, how many children? So Prabhupada said, now I have thousands of children, and that too without my wife. So the reporter got very excited, some very good scandal. Thousands of children out of marriage. He said, all of these are my children, all the disciples are sitting, they are my children. So this is how a householder expands his family, and sannyasi also, guru also expands his family, that way. Okay. Teshu tadrikta hareshu graha koshanu jivashu nirunena matvena vishveshva anubadhyayat.
These sons and grandsons were virtually plunderers of King Puranjana's riches, including his home, treasury, servants, secretaries, and all other paraphernalia. Puranjana's attachment for these things was very deep-rooted. In this verse, the word Riktahareshu, meaning plunderers of wealth, is very significant. One's sons, grandsons, and other descendants are ultimately plunderers of one's accumulated wealth. There are many celebrated businessmen and industrialists who produce great wealth and are highly praised by the public, but all their money is ultimately plundered by their sons and grandsons. In India, we have actually seen one industrialist who, like King Puranjana, was very much sexually inclined and had a half-dozen wives. Each of these wives had a separate establishment that necessitated the expenditure of several thousands of rupees. When I was engaged in talking with him, I saw that he was very busy trying to secure money so that all his sons and daughters would get at least 500,000 rupees each. Thus, such industrialists, businessmen, or karmis are called moodas in the Shastras. They work very hard, accumulate money, and are satisfied to see that this money is plundered by their sons and grandsons. Such people do not want to return their wealth to their actual owner. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. The real proprietor of all wealth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the actual enjoyer. So-called earners of money are those who simply know tricks by which they can take away God's money under the guise of business and industry. After accumulating this money, they enjoy seeing it plundered by their sons and grandsons. This is the materialistic way of life. In materialistic life, one is encased within the body and deluded by false egoism. Thus one thinks, I am this body, I am a human being, I am American, I am Indian. This bodily conception is due to false ego. Being deluded by false ego, one identifies himself with a certain family, nation or community. In this way, one's attachment for the material world grows deeper and deeper. Thus it becomes very difficult for the living entity to extricate himself from his entanglement. Such people are graphically described in 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in this way. Idam adhyamaya labdam imam prapsye manoratam idam asti idamapi me bhavishyati punardanam asau maya hata satrur hanishye chaparanapi ishwaroham ambogi siddhoham balavan sukhi adyo abhijanavan asmi konyosti sadruso maya yakshe dasyami modishya ityajnana mohita. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, I'll gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy. I have killed him. My other enemy will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. In this way, people engage in various laborious activities, and their attachment for body, home, family, nation, and community becomes more and more deep-rooted.
So more we want to enjoy, the more we have to work hard, and more we get entangled. Okay. Translation.
The great sage Narada continued, my dear King Prachina Parishad, like you, King Puranjana also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigod, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices which were all very ghastly because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals.
Now he discloses it was you, but very casually. Puranjan, the Prachina Vaishnava still not realize. Purport.
In this verse, the great sage Narada discloses the character of Puranjana was being described to give lessons to King Prachina Parishad. Actually, the entire description was figuratively describing the activities of King Prachina Parishad. In this verse, Narada frankly says, like you, Yata Bhavan, which indicates that King Puranjana is none other than King Prachina Parishad himself. Being a great Vaishnava, Narada Muni wanted to stop animal killing and sacrifices. He knew that if he tried to stop the king from performing sacrifices, the king would not hear him. Therefore, he is describing the life of Puranjana, but in this verse, he first discloses the intention, although not fully by saying like you. Generally, the karmis who are attached to increasing descendants have to perform so many sacrifices and worship so many demigods for future generations and satisfy so many leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists to make things go on properly for future generations. The so-called scientists.
Yeah, you read from here last book. The karmis are advertising that without eating meat,
Karmis are advertising that without eating meat, their vitamin value or vitality will be reduced. So, to keep oneself fit to work hard, one must eat meat. And to digest meat, one must drink liquor. And to give the balance of drinking wine and eating meat, one must have sufficient sexual intercourse. To keep fit to work very hard like an ass.
Papa is summarizing it, everything. Okay.
There are two ways of animal killing. One way.
That's okay. In the bottom, a Vaishnava child like Narad Muni knows very well that person engaged in such animal killing in the name of religion are certainly becoming involved in the cycle of birth and death, forgetting the real aim of life, going back to Godhead. Okay. Okay. Last few lines. At the present moment, it is the greatest misfortune that in India many so-called missionary workers are spreading irreligion in the name of religion. They claim an ordinary human being to be God and recommend meat eating for everyone, including so-called sannyasis. Everyone is Brahm. So one Brahm is eating another Brahm, no problem. So it's very user-friendly. User-friendly spirituality. Okay. Yukteshvam pramattasya kutumbasakta chetasa asatada savaikalo yo priye priyoshitam.
Thus, King Puranjan, being attached to fruitive activities, as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at that point, not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things.
Yes. Asasat savai kalo yo apriya priya yoshitam. Asasat, arrived, the time that arrived, apriya. He became apriya to priya yoshitam. For the persons who are attached to women, they don't become dear to anyone at the old age. They become apriya for everyone because Yoshitams are very dear to them. In the old age, no one likes them. Prabhupada was very old, but everyone liked him because he was attached to Krishna. So any old man who has spent his youth being attached to women, no one will like him. This is the fact. Okay. Purport, please.
In this verse, the words Priya Yoshitam and Apriya are very significant. The word Yoshit means woman and Priya means dear or pleasing. Death is not very much welcome for those who are too much attached to material enjoyment, which culminates in sex. There is an instructive story in this connection. Once, when a saintly person was passing on his way, he met a prince, the son of a king, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear prince, may you live forever." The sage next met a saintly person and said to him, "You may either live or die." Eventually, the sage met a brahmachari devotee and he blessed him, saying, "My dear devotee, you may die immediately." Finally, the sage met a hunter and he blessed him, saying, "Neither live nor die."
We know all this story, no? We know this conclusion. So last paragraph, Prabhu, last line. Cruel death, however, comes and makes all of them away despite their desire to live forever. This type of mentality was exhibited by Hiranyakashipu, but when the time was ripe, the Lord personally killed him within a second. Okay. Okay. So we'll end here. 5 minutes. Any questions or comments? So tomorrow morning we'll see how old age attacks Puranjan. Chanduveg. Okay. Yeah, Prabhu.
The story. So the factual story was he wanted to communicate to Puranjan Prajini Bharishad the factual meaning or the spiritual meaning?
Spiritual meaning. Otherwise, what is the way of use of telling story?
In the sense, because now it says how so many sons and then.
Yeah. So that he's getting interested. Whole his sex life, how he became old, and then how the old age will attack him, how will he die. And tell him everything. So just
because the spiritual meaning is like getting a dharmic intelligence and then.
Yes.
So both ways you can.
Yeah, but in the 29th chapter he will explain everything. Okay. Now he'll just tell the story.
sons and daughters here refers to karmic
reactions. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Same thing. Materialistic life, as per the Vedas, is karma kanda. In between, he got sinful. With out of Vedas he went. Then he came back again to Vedic life. Yes. Both his karma.
But in the morning session, we were discussing that in the starting regarding this repentance, prayashit.
Yeah.
That in some cases, when our spiritual practices are going down, reading, hearing, or chanting, we should feel repentant that they are not going nicely. So my question was that even though we know that they are not doing nicely, and we want to do something also to do it more nicely, or do it means allotting some other place time frame so that we can give some more importance to that. Still, circumstances don't allow sometimes, and that things keep on worsening more and more. So then, what has to be done?
Yeah, we should discuss with our mentor. If the balance is not there between service and sadhana, sometimes it happens. There is no proper balance between how much we should serve, how much we should give time to our sadhana. So that balance gets disturbed, so we also get disturbed. So then we should discuss and try to reach to come to balance. Sometimes emergencies are there, so that we have to deal with the emergency. But whole life is like an emergency. That's the problem. Then should we have some system, create some systems. If anyone is facing such challenge, we should discuss. Okay, because the problem is now in India the expansion is happening too fast. So that is the challenge we are facing. So we have to deal with the expansion also. So once it has started, seeds are sown, now it is coming up. Everywhere preaching is flourishing. So we have to deal with that. So that is the challenge.
Last chapter, last verse, it is mentioned that when one's intelligence is properly utilized, both intellect and intelligent person enjoy one another with great satisfaction. What?
Yeah, so when we are utilizing the intelligence in Krishna consciousness, so intelligence is also satisfied, I am also satisfied.
Soul, I mean soul.
Yeah. When we discuss some philosophy, we feel intellectually okay, satisfied, and I am also satisfied that way.
In material life also is like applicable?
Yeah, in material life also people, all these computer programmers, AI, they discover something, they want it as a challenge, some new discovery, so they feel satisfied like that. But that satisfaction is not long lasting, and that satisfaction is not auspicious for the whole society also. But our satisfaction, devotee satisfaction, is auspicious for everyone.
So their intellect means soul or mind?
Intellect only.
Intellect.
Yeah. Materially engaged. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned time, importance of time for brahmacharya.
Yeah. Speak on the mic.
I heard one devotee was telling every 6 months like that you should feel that you are joining newly into the ashram. So for this, as age is coming up, the absorption should increase more and more. Any practical test to ourselves individually?
Yeah.
Any devotees who are practicing, like, what is the test? How much absorbed I am into Krishna consciousness? Because as the discussion is going on, continuously there are festivals coming up, festivals after festivals, then events after events, some services, introspection. What is the practical things, like how we can check ourselves how much we are absorbed?
Yeah, so absorption in Krishna consciousness doesn't mean that there are no festivals, no services, just get absorbed, So these are services, festivals are there to help us improve our service attitude. Festivals are there to make us more flexible in our services. Okay, because when we organize festivals, there are always some uncertainties. So we should learn to deal with uncertainties, making us more flexible. So without services, without festivals, it's very difficult to absorb ourselves. Okay, so these are required. Sometimes we feel that these things are taking away my time. No, these things are there. That's why we are busy. That's how we can keep ourselves absorbed. Okay. Now, how to do introspection and how to check whether I'm properly engaged or not, my mind is properly absorbed or not. So see, the result of absorption is satisfaction. If the mind is properly absorbed, I'll be satisfied. So happiness is a byproduct of absorption. If I'm really absorbed in something, I'll feel satisfied. Like we had our president, what was his name? Abdul Kalam. He never married. You know what happened? He was a scientist. And on his marriage day also, he was busy in laboratory. And he forgot today's marriage day. He was so absorbed. So when I went, today time has passed, today was your marriage day. Oh, I forgot. Then he realized, when I'm so much absorbed in this work, I forgot marriage. So what is the need of marriage? He was so happy doing that work only. So that is a sign. If I'm satisfied doing services, that is I'm absorbed in services. I'm not having any negative feelings in my heart. Nothing. Okay. No grudges, no complaints, and absorbed. That means I'm happy. So if I'm absorbed in Krishna consciousness, I will have less I will be less distracted. If I'm not absorbed, I'll be more distracted. So with this level of distraction, I can see how much I'm absorbed.
That doesn't get into Bhajananandi thing?
No, absorbed in services. Why Bhajananandi?
So these services, there is always as the modern trend is going up, different way. The preaching techniques also coming up newly, and we also think gets new examples, new tactics to preach. This keeps continuing. This intelligence keeps working upon taxing the brains.
Yeah.
That is new things. Right? Those are the new things to tackle the conditioned souls.
Yeah.
But individually, absorption is
both ways.
Leela Smarana, Nama Smarana, like that.
No, in both ways. Our movement is, Janam Sarthak Kari Kar Purokar. So we have to absorb in both. As Gopal Maharaj says, if one is just absorbed in his own reading, studying, and not preaching, he's 50% Krishna conscious. So we have to absorb in both. It's like, otherwise it's a Ardh Kokot Nyaya. I'll just be absorbed in myself, I won't preach. Absorption in inner self will come by preaching only. You have to preach in such a way that I go deep in Krishna consciousness. So more I am deep in Krishna consciousness, more my preaching will be effective. So more I preach, more I'll go deep in Krishna consciousness. They are not separate. They are the two sides of one coin only. So it is a wrong propaganda that, okay, Sankirtan is external and internal is something else. No. Mahaprabhu came to give love through Sankirtan. So they are inseparable. Getting the point. So we have to absorb in Sankirtan also, we have to absorb in self-development. Both go together. So when we don't perform Sankirtan in proper consciousness, then we don't feel absorbed inside. That is the problem.
No, so while chanting, we make plans for preaching.
No, why should we make plans for preaching?
If inseparable.
No. I mean, all services are alike. So I am a pujari. So while doing chamar, I can honor prasad also. Honoring Prashad is also a service. So I am having, simultaneously having Rajbhog also and Chambara also. No? One service at a time. We plan for preaching a different service, chanting is a different service. Why are you mixing two services? Singer is singing, let me put gulab jamun in my mouth, I'll do both together. So my singing will become sweet. No? So that is a different service, there is a different service. Both the services have to give proper attention.
So this comes from, in ISKCON, in Krishna consciousness, in ISKCON movement, after 30, 40 years, devotees, they get into some their flavored service, I mean, their natural inclinations. Like somebody gets into kirtaniyas, somebody gets into management, somebody gets into, so absorption in terms of these services you are referring?
Yeah,
Or?
these services also. And because of this absorption in services, they feel deeper connection with Krishna also, with Guru also. Both ways, not superficial. They are doing these services for the pleasure of their spiritual master. So that way, we go internally also and externally also.
So in the morning, we had some Ishtagosti, where one devotee kept a point to the council that let the devotees should have opportunity to choose their services, their inclined natural services. So is that works, or after 30, 40 years, whatever sincerity comes of Krishna shows grace, we realize the whatever our natural field?
I mean, it cannot be generalized. It cannot be generalized. It varies from person to person. Sometimes we don't even know I am made for what kind of service. So we have to experiment with all the kinds of services. You know, there is no general rule for this. Open communication. With open communication, we come to know. Right.
Thank you.
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Koti Vaishnava Vind ki Jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki